After 9 o'clock, we've got an agenda that, at least on my copy, I don't know about yours, is timed out that we should end by about 11:20 or 11:30. So, although the meeting's scheduled for noon, maybe a little early holiday gift, and we'll get out early. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I see we're up live on screen, and Tom, the roll call.
All right, calling roll. Keith Lippman.
Here.
Richard Molina. Meltree Sharp. Salvador Tallarico. Trevor McLear.
Here.
Katie Gallagher.
Here.
And Michael Chambers. All right.
Wow, gang is all here in person. Lovely. And thank you all for being here and timely. Next item on the agenda is public comment related to items on the agenda. I see no public in the room. I'm hearing nobody speak up from online, so let the record show there was no public comment. And now we'll move to the approval of the minutes of our September 25th meeting, which was attached to your materials. Any comments, corrections to the minutes? In that case, motion to approve.
Second.
Do we need to do this by roll call or just say aye? Then say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. The minutes are approved. And next item up is that, although you might have seen it in the headlines of the Plain Dealer, but Meltree was reappointed to the committee for another term. We are grateful to Meltree. Well, I am grateful to Meltree, and hopefully we all are, for continuing her service on the committee, and pleased that County Council saw fit to see it that way, and thank you for your continued service. Next item is executive session if necessary. I have nothing that is on my mind or of which I am aware that would require an executive session at this meeting. Do any members of the committee wish to have an executive session for any purpose? There are none. So, as I casually stated earlier, there may have saved us a half an hour to an hour. So, but should something arise, certainly let me know later. So we'll move right into old business, and now I think I can just sort of turn to Corey, and he'll steer the ship from here.
Yes, thank you, Keith, and good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone. Item 7A on the agenda are follow-up items from the third quarter meeting. There are only 3 follow-up items, which is included in your attachments, also up on the screen. The 2026-2027 budget will be addressed during the next agenda item, so I'll go over a little more detail there. Item number 2, the committee approved moving forward with the IAA's external assessment for next year. They approved that at the third quarter committee meeting. So we'll begin the county's procurement process in early 2026 with the expectation that IAA's assessment will begin in June of next year and be completed by August, September of next year.
Is there any issue of urgency with regard to get the procurement process done so we secure dates from our peer reviewers?
No. I talked to them over the last couple weeks, and I gave them the schedule of how the procurement process will go. They're confident that they can still start in June. They're planning to start in June, which is plenty of time.
Great.
With the procurement process and their anticipated starting date. And that gets us done by the deadline, which is October 1st, to get within our 5 years from the last peer review. The third item is an update on the county ERM plan and House Bill 96. These were provided in my monthly update that I sent a few weeks ago. I wasn't going to go into any detail unless anyone has any questions related to these items, but if you want to refer back to that December update, you can a couple weeks ago. And that's all for the follow-up items, unless anyone has any questions.
Your monthly updates are very helpful in keeping us informed and also saving valuable meeting time, so appreciated.
Great.
Okay, well, the budget then would be next.
Yes,
Am I correct?
yes, you are. Apologize, I don't know why. Sorry, let me go into, pull it up here, up on the screen. Okay, the county charter requires the Department of Internal Audit prepare an annual budget. The audit committee bylaws do require the committee to review and approve the biennial budget. Attachment A-7.B in your attachments includes projections for 2025 and the 2026-2027 budget that was approved by county council last week. No changes were made to the budget on internal audit side since the last audit committee meeting. I'd like to thank the executive and thank county council for their support and confidence in our services and our department. The budget is sufficient to fund our staffing resources, our current audit software and operating expenses, and co-sourcing efforts going forward. I do respectfully request at this meeting the committee approve the budget as required. But again, this has been approved by, recommended by the executive, approved by county council last week to utilize this budget going forward.
So are there any questions on the budget? We've seen it in the past, and as Corey reported, it has been through the process at county council, so the ability to do much with it at this stage is would be difficult. But that said, I'm going to make a comment that I feel a little bit like a broken record because I've been making it most meetings for years. I continue to have concern that that the department have sufficient resources to meet our charge under the charter and to timely go through the audits that are teed up as a result of our risk assessments. And as will be seen later in the meeting when we review the 25 plan and the 26 audit plan, it's a struggle and it's balancing priorities. So I know Katie heard me the other day make an appeal to the county executive, and I've done so with others, to just keep in mind that in future budgets, we really do need to consider the risk that we associated with whether we have adequate resources or not. So that's an editorial comment on my part, but since we're moving smoothly through the agenda so far, I'm probably going to continue to do that. Okay, any other comments? So do we need to actually approve the budget even though it's gone to council?
Yes, this is one of the items the peer reviewers will look for.
Is this a roll call or is this a, in that case, is there a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay?
Yeah, thank you.
We have approved the budget, and you know, my thanks to Corey and the department for so carefully working through this process and to try to get the very best result that we could have. Okay, we're now up to item 8 on the agenda. 8A would be the review of the audit staff CPE credits, and I think there is a handout that demonstrates the compliance with the requirements. Corey, do you have anything more you'd like to say on the subject?
Yeah, I'll just really a reminder, annually, the audit committee receives a review on the audit staff's CPE, which is following Red Book standards and our internal audit regulations. The department is required to complete 80 hours every 2 years. At least 20 of those must relate to government auditing or just the government environment. 8 of those hours must be related to IT, and 2 of those hours must be related to ethics. This is included in your attachments. As you can see, all staff members are in full compliance over the 2-year period. I will note that our newest staff member a year ago, Tiana, her start date was October of 2024, so that was prorated. She only had to earn 40 hours from then till now. And again, no action is needed from the committee. It's just an update.
So, question, I recall you perhaps telling the committee, at least you mentioned to me, there's going to be a conference in Cleveland, educational professional conference in May next year, is that?
Yes, May
Correct.
May 4th through the 6th.
And I know some of us are getting our CPE credits to maintain our licensing. Would there be opportunity for us to attend any of that, and would it be worthwhile?
I would, and I was planning to send out an email to the committee when that comes out, officially comes out, but I
Great.
would encourage if any committee members can attend. It's the Association of Local Government Auditors, which is it's a national association. There aren't many local chapters around here, but it's probably the most fit organization for what we do. And members of that organization are just like our department, structured similar to our department. So that is a conference we try to attend every year. It's been virtually, but now next year it's going to be in Cleveland, which I'm sitting a part of a subcommittee. So actually, not official yet, but one of the workshops, we're going to be taking a group to the animal shelter and talking about the audit that we did at the animal shelter, and then giving a tour. We've already talked to the animal shelter about this, but that'll be on May 6th in the morning. So that'll actually be part of one of the workshops that'll be done. So we're still figuring out the details of that, but our department, Tom being the main senior auditor on that, will be leading a group and presenting on the audit report that we did in that area. But yeah, it's a great conference. It's in Cleveland. It's at the Hilton Hotel.
So what are the days?
It'll be it's that Sunday through Wednesday. Again, I'll send out the details, hopefully in the next monthly update. May 3rd through the 6th.
And I can get continuing education credit for going to play with puppies.
Yes. As long as you learn something.
That's pretty cool.
Expecting a lot of adoptions.
Yeah, after that, yes.
Okay, any questions regarding the continuing education requirements and programs? Okay, thank you, and
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate everyone in the department taking the time to keep their education and credentials up to date. Okay, at long last, we have a chance to review and approve the remote work policy for the Director of Internal Audit. As you may recall, in a prior meeting, we have approved remote work as a policy within the department, and we have specifically approved the entitlement for all of the staff of the department. Corey has submitted, and it's part of the materials, am I correct?
Yes.
your plan. Corey and I have had a number of discussions over the last few months on how that would work and how it interfaces with the needs of the county, the operation of his department. So I will tell you, I'm personally very comfortable with the plan that's been submitted. Do you want to just high level describe it? It's interesting. It's pages and pages and pages of what would seem to be fairly simple. But if you want to just describe it at a high level, and then we'll.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, so the agreement that's in front of the committee is the exact same agreement that the executive's office follows. The only thing I changed in there, if it referred to a supervisor executive's office, I just changed to the audit committee. But other than that, all the language in there is very similar, the same as the executive's office remote work agreement. So what's in that agreement and is also with staff as well is that in accordance with our policy, we are all required to be in here in the office on Wednesdays. We chose Wednesdays for our days because we have staff meetings on those days. And then no staff member, including myself, which my days I picked were Monday, Thursday, can have consecutive days working remote. Now, I'll say from even the staff's experience over the last few months, the 2 days are there just if you want to or can use it. So there's many weeks, many days that we're still coming in because there's meetings, in-person meetings going on. We're not scheduling meetings with auditees based on a remote work. So if there's a day that an auditee has to meet, and if it's on a remote day, everyone's required to come in for that, or the people involved in that meeting. So same thing here. I just have Monday, Thursdays are my days that I'm including on there. If it works out that I can work at home, I'll work at home. If not, I could say the one day I have right now, or the one day I try to work at home. On average, it's rarely a full day, if it is a full day. So I just want to mention that, but yeah, that's in front of the committee today. If there's any questions related to that policy, I can answer them. I have effective date starting next week on Monday, if approved today, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Pretty comprehensively explained in the materials. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the policy? Well, I will. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, unanimously approved, and thank you for working through this process so diligently. Okay, the next item on the agenda says committee reminders and updates. So I can see that I should remind you that we will be getting the resident member independence form to fill out shortly. I've asked for me, and I'm sure it can be done for any of you, to have a copy of last year's form sent to you. It makes it a little easier to fill out what your extracurricular activities that need to be reported are and so forth. And that, when should that be returned? Is there a due date?
I'm planning to send out the form to all the resident members by the end of this year with last year's completed form, and if you can have it completed by the first quarter meeting, which is normally when I update the committee that everyone's completed.
Which will be in early February, I believe.
February 5th or 4th,
yeah. Notice to schedule the 2025 Financial Audit Entrance Conference. Does that mean we need to schedule that now? Or
that has been scheduled.
Correct.
Everyone should have received a calendar invite for that. It is January 29th at 1 p.m. with Clark Schaefer. It's a virtual meeting and a closed session which means it's not open to the public, which is allowed per the revised code. So that'll be similar to prior years, a Teams meeting. Clark Schaefer will be in attendance. Lee Tucker and Lennon, I believe, will both be there. I know Lee will. But that'll be January 29th at 1.
I can confirm it's on my calendar. I trust it's on everyone else's. And the 2026 meeting schedule was included in the materials. If everyone would be good enough at your leisure to take a look at it, if any of the dates are seeming problematic, why don't you let Corey know, and we'll see if we can make some adjustments.
All the invites have been sent for this as
Right.
well, Keith.
Right. But life has a way of getting in the way of even quarterly county audit committee meetings, so if life is getting in the way, let Corey know and we'll try to adjust. Okay, next item on the agenda is the review of the risk assessment for 2026. I am not going to attempt to do a preamble to that, highly technical.
You sure?
Yes, I am. So, please go ahead, Corey.
Okay, thank you, Keith. If okay with the committee, I'd actually like to address the next two agenda items, so the risk assessment report and then roll into the planned audit plan, if that's okay with everyone. Okay. The county charter requires our function to follow Red Book standards, which mandates a risk-based audit plan. Our audit plan is primarily informed by annual risk assessments conducted each year from September through November. We've now completed our 10th consecutive annual risk assessment. The report is included in your attachments as document A-A.D. This year, as you'll see in the report, we evaluated 105 auditable units. 69 of those units include departments, divisions, boards, and major county projects under internal audit's jurisdiction. 36 of those units represent countywide functional areas that span across multiple departments, such as accounts payable and payroll. As presented during the third quarter meeting, we did make several improvements to this year's risk assessment process based on feedback from the last peer review and our own review of past practices. Key enhancements are inclusion of functional units as recommended by the peer review team and a streamlined process eliminating duplicative questions for departments. Functional units were evaluated using surveys sent to upper management, focusing on strategic, operational, financial, and compliance risk. The purpose of separating functional units from departments is to identify system-wide risks that may not be visible at the department level. As this is our first year using this model, the list of functional units may evolve over time. There are more details on the entire risk assessment process in the report. We did use risk scores to be calculated from our audit management system based on impact and likelihood of each risk. These scores, align with management input, guide the development of our annual audit plan. Appendix B of the report ranks auditable units by total risk, and Appendix C provides descriptions of units with high-risk ratings, and for 2026 assessments, anything over 7.5 risk score is considered high risk. The 2026 audit plan was developed using results from current and prior year risk assessments, input from the executive's office, management, and council, and consideration of available resources. The audit plan is presented today for tentative approval. Please note that the audit plan may be adjusted, like prior years may be adjusted before the first committee meeting, first quarter committee meeting in 2026 as we finalize discussions with departments and narrow down our objectives and plan scope. Before I move into the actual audit plan, are there any questions regarding the risk assessment report or anything the audit committee wants me to go over more in detail?
No, I'd just like to emphasize one item that you said quickly and may sound pro forma, but I really don't think it is, and that was that the plan has been reviewed with members of county council and also the executive's office. I actually attended a meeting where Katie and county executive were present, and Corey went through it, and I would just report to the committee the degree of engagement that came from engagement and understanding that came from the executive's office was really impressive to me. Actually, the amount of not just attention paid to it, but real understanding of what was in the plan, why it was in the plan, and my word, not anybody else's, but enthusiasm with regard to what the outcomes are. So, and I understand similar reaction with the discussions with members of council. So I think that's important to know. We're not, we're independent, but we operate collaboratively even in the planning stages.
Thank you for attending those meetings. The functional auditable units was a internal collaborative process with everyone on staff to begin with, but also review of, I was able to pull other audit plans, risk assessments from other counties that I could find, so other best practices that I could find online to pull those, and then also any training material that I've kept aside from like IAA, ALGA, pull those together. So really what we were looking for, and it's easy, it's easy to identify like a lot of the operations, like accounts payable and payroll, anything with human resources that really, we want to make sure it spans across the entire county. So we were able to get to that point. And then there were some in there that we still have to kind of make sure we reassess every year. Is it really a functional unit or is it more department? So that's still going to be an ongoing process, but that was our methodology for putting that together.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the risk assessment?
So do we separately approve the risk assessment from the plan? I mean, these are two
Yes.
separate
Yes.
actions.
I was going to ask for those at the end, but if the
Oh, okay, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Just keep rolling.
just in
then.
case there's any discussion during the audit
Good.
plan.
Keep rolling.
Okay, so I will pull up the 2026 tentative audit plan. It's in front of the committee today to be approved. Again, as I mentioned, this is a tentative audit plan that we put together for this meeting. If approved, we can start working on it, but more importantly, we'll start having more detailed discussions with the departments and narrow down what the objectives and scopes are related to these engagements. So walking through the 2026 audit plan, there are 2 audits that we do anticipate will be in progress as of January 1st. They are listed in the plan. We'll discuss the status of both these audits, which are the opioid settlement compliance audit and IT security audit, which are both currently in progress. So we're working on them. We don't plan to have a report to the committee by the end of the year. So again, we'll talk about that and the status of engagements towards the end of the meeting. Getting into the planned audits for 2026, these are audit engagements with a focus on providing assurance over higher risk functions within the county and the audit universe. I'll highlight 2 key audits planned for 2026 that are listed here as priority 1 and 2. The first one being the accuracy of property tax calculation and payments. This audit addresses a higher risk area due to the potential for public scrutiny and the county's responsibility to accurately calculate and distribute property taxes to political subdivisions. We believe this audit is essential to ensure our department has a thorough understanding of the property tax process and capability to independently recalculate tax rates going forward and reconcile payments annually, if that is needed. while external auditors, including the state auditor, and I know Clark Schaefer does, currently performs a review and a reconciliation of the tax rates, I believe our internal insurance will strengthen our oversight and preparedness and could result in external auditors relying on our work to perform the review in future years. So our audit objectives would be to evaluate the effectiveness of controls over the entry of property taxes and tax rates, the calculation of the tax bills, and disbursements of payments to communities. Ensuring that the integrity of this process is essential for public trust and operational accuracy. So again, we'll meet with the departments, there are multiple here, to go through this and really try to detail out and dig down more into like what the actual objectives will be, but high level, this is where we're at as of today. So I don't know if there's any questions related to this engagement.
Couple of questions. You have reason for selection referral. Is that because county executives asked you to look at this? I mean, it's the middle of the road risk area, right?
Yes, the main referral has been from from external auditors to review this. I know that they're digging into or reconciling it currently now. So, and this has actually at least come up with me in prior years to get a good understanding of this process and to potentially be part of that reconciliation process. So this is, the referral part has been from other external auditors. So that's why that referral's on there, and just the average of all these areas and the risk assessment. Some of them are higher risk, some of them are a little lower, but that's the reason why this is being put on here mainly is because of the referral status of it.
The scope would be the actual appraisal process. It's how property values are determined, that methodology, that's out of the
scope, yes. We, and I know, I wasn't here when, I know we performed a similar audit or review on that a couple years ago. But no, that would be out of the scope. That side of the appraisal process would be the input of the actual value into the system. You know, is that being reviewed? How do we make sure it's accurate? Not accurate as in making sure that the valuation process was done correctly, but just the number that's put into the system to calculate to calculate out the rates. And I would say if we review, I don't know how many hours that took years ago, but if we review that as part of this, that might take up a whole nother engagement.
Well, that's where most of the challenges are, right? You ask the residents what's wrong with it, it's the appraisal. Okay, understood.
Okay. Any other questions?
Corey, when do you plan on starting this one?
This one, again, I'm meeting with departments to see, when the best time is. I'm not quite sure when, the process they go through all this. I know it's an annual or biannual process that they go through this, but I mean, since this is priority one, I'd like to start as soon as we can. But if it's not, timing's not right, we'll figure out. We'll come back next meeting with that date. Okay, I will go on to priority number 2. Okay, audit number 2 planned for 2026 is an inventory and asset management audit. As part of our expanded risk assessment approach, which now includes functional units, we are planning a governance audit focused on inventory and asset tracking across the county. This engagement will concentrate on higher risk areas and evaluate the process and systems used to manage inventory and assets in departments such as IT, Public Works, and including fleet management, which would include vehicles. We previously conducted an inventory audit of IT assets in 2019. Despite ongoing follow-up efforts, the department has not fully implemented all recommendations from the audit, although we did recently note that there have been improvements in that process, but this is an ongoing follow-up that we perform annually. So given these challenges, we do believe a comprehensive county or county-wide review of the inventory and asset management practices is warranted, which will include IT inventory in that process as well. The goal of this audit is to identify opportunities to improve efficiency in tracking and managing assets, enhance consistency across departments, and strengthen internal controls. This broader approach will help ensure that asset management practices are aligned across the county, and the county has reliable systems in place to safeguard its assets and resources. So again, we'll provide more of a detailed update, but this will be more of a I understand some of it might get into a little bit more detail, but the approach would be more of a governance side of it on, what are the practices in place, what are the policies, what systems are in place, is it consistent across the county? I understand there's thresholds for what needs to be tracked, especially like capital assets too. So, and I know Lee and her group, they get an inventory list every year, so that'll be a good starting point for us. Yeah, we'll work with Public Works Fiscal Office to determine the best approach to this audit.
So my memory may not be, well, is not perfect. No maybe about it. When this audit was done in 2019, I think I recall that there were issues of inadequacy of systems as well as inadequacy of compliance within the systems. Do we have knowledge about whether new systems have been put in place since 2019, or are we just likely to go back in and find out in some areas the same inadequate system still exists, and we're just going to reinforce that finding?
Right. So on the IT asset or IT inventory audit that we performed in 2019, at that time there wasn't a system in place. They have since put a system in place. I know they're looking at improvements to that system that's needed. But as far as and that's one of the reasons why this came up as well for review next year. In other areas, from what we've seen or heard, that there's just either there's not systems in place at all, or it's very limited on what's used with these systems. So taking the approach to see what's the best practice across the whole county. Are there systems that can be used that apply to every department related to this? Are there processes that are better in others? So I'm trying to take a holistic view here. To answer your question, Keith, I don't think there's many documented systems in these other areas of the county. So that's, and I know IT has a system, and they're trying to improve upon that system based on their reviews and our internal results of our follow-up.
Okay.
Corey, who's gonna be the lead department on this? There's like, obviously, people have, IT has their
Right. Yeah.
inventory, right? I know fiscal, gets the information and they have their process too. So, who are you gonna be working with?
Yes, so this is part of the functional units that we established too. So the main department, we'll start with fiscal just because they have the inventory list. But Public Works will be the next one, because I know as far as fleet management, we'll have to go to Public Works to get that process, to get that list. So we'll start with fiscal, but fiscal will be part of it, but I think Public Works will be the main contact, the majority of that. And then you have IT as well will be part of that. So that's just because it is the functional unit side of it. There's not going to be really one main department, but we'll start with fiscal to gather the lists and information that we can.
Corey, did you say that various departments have different thresholds as opposed to a countywide threshold on what's considered a fixed asset and depreciable?
No, I'm sorry. If I said that, I misspoke.
Okay,
No, there's just one policy on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just an observation, the amount of time on what you guys do. And again, I just ask,
Yes, it's been a lot of time, I know, over the last few years. Mainly, I mean, if we're pumping out more audits, we're obviously gonna have more to follow up on. But we have taken the approach this year, to try to streamline a lot of these efforts. We're automating a lot of it. There's one big automation that we want to incorporate. We just didn't get the time this year, as we'll talk about later, to use more of a automatic quarterly update to everyone. Like they just get an email and a reminder to follow up on something. Like that's, right now, that's us. So a lot of the times, us trying to follow up on that and then having to go back to review things just takes some time. But yes, my goal would be to get those hours down. But I know over the last few years, it's ramped up a little bit. I know we had we did have a liaison, like an innovation that helped us a little bit on that. And I see there's members of innovation that, especially with the sheriff's office audit, that has been helpful with follow-up there too. So we're identifying some efficiencies, but I think it's going to take some time to roll some of that out.
On the flip side, you are finding a lot of issues.
Right. Well.
That's good.
Okay. Any other questions on the planned audits? The last three, as Rich mentioned, issue tracker, risk assessment, and the QAIP, which is the quality assurance and improvement plan. Those are annual tasks that we have to perform every year. The QAIP, we do have additional hours in there just because of the external peer review that will be performed next year.
Corey, I just, if you don't mind, I'd like to jump back to number 1.
Yes.
Just to Trevor's point about the timing of this. So we had the full revaluation done by the end of '24, which was collected in '25. So between now and the mid revaluation, which is at the end of '27, it seems to me like it would make sense to do it now, after all those new values are in for '25, before the next.
There's not a lot of changes, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, timing-wise, that seems to make sense. And then to Rich's point, I agree the appraisal amounts are the issues, but I think that needs to be addressed by the state legislature. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sal. Okay. So I'll move along onto the next page of the plan. The next section of the audit plan includes consulting engagements, which are advisory in nature. Services provided in these engagements include advising on design and implementation of policies, processes, internal controls, or discussions on risks and controls. The reports from these engagements will outline results of the service provided and identify any improvements. The first item we have on the consulting advisory services is a review of the county budget process. Budgeting and financial planning was identified as a higher risk functional unit during this year's risk assessment, which is noted in our risk assessment report. The county's budget process has been subject to public scrutiny and review in recent years, largely due to, as everyone knows, the financial challenges currently in the county. So we are, as part of our consulting engagement, we are considering a review of key components of the county's budgetary practices in discussion with the chief of staff, fiscal officer, and Katie Gallagher here too. Some of the potential objectives, and we'll have more details over the next month as we discuss with the fiscal office and specifically Office of Budget and Management, that due to limited resources in that office, this may be part of more of a phased approach throughout the year, maybe even spanning into multiple years, as some of our objectives currently relate to evaluating the budget development process, stakeholder involvement, and documentation supporting budget decisions, identifying opportunities to improve forecasting accuracy and responsiveness to changing financial conditions, reviewing the role of financial systems and dashboards, and supporting real-time budget oversight, looking for best practices, making recommendations, assessing the methodology used to allocate indirect costs and chargebacks across departments and programs, and determining whether indirect charges and chargebacks are reasonably, fairly calculated, Are they consistently applied and clearly communicated out to departments in their budget? Over the next month, again, we'll work with management to refine the scope and objectives, taking into account available resources. I believe the Office of Budget Management is down 1 or 2 FTEs right now, so we want to be cognizant of available resources to even be a part of this process. So I would be happy to provide more detail or answer any questions related to that engagement. All right. Walking through the rest of the advisory services, as noted in past monthly updates, the county is preparing for a financial system upgrade that will impact both the finance and HR operations. I am currently supporting management in an advisory capacity related to this project, but the IT team and the vendor will begin implementation on the upgrade in 2026. So given the scope and significance of this upgrade, we do anticipating allocating audit hours in the 2026 audit plan. These efforts will focus on ensuring the upgraded system incorporates and maintains effective internal controls through the implementation process. A status report of our review will be provided to the audit committee at the end of every year. Obviously, if there's any other significant issues or anything that needs audit committee attention, we'll bring it up at that point throughout the year. Similar to the process that we went through back in 2016, 17, 18, 19, which I believe Trevor may be the only one who was a part of that. But yeah, we'll provide updates on that throughout the year, but more importantly, have reports sent to the committee on our progress and the IT, the ERP upgrade progress. But it's been a very, I'll honestly say it's been a very great process to work with the IT implementation team. They have great project managers in there. They've included us from the beginning, which wasn't done in the past. So a lot of discussion on our role, on even capitalization thresholds, which was an issue in the past. So I think they're doing a great job so far and very organized and looking like this will be a successful implementation. I think it's supposed to take about 28 to 30 months to complete. And the reason they're doing that, just for the audit committee to know, is because the support of the current system, that they won't have support. I think it's 2030. Is that right, Katie, Trevor? 2030, they won't have support, so they want to make sure to start this process now to upgrade to the new system. It's going to be the same system Infor, but it's going to be a more modern, completely new system going forward. And if the support ends in 2030, then they need to either find a new system or upgrade to the newest one. So they decided to upgrade to the newest one. So that's the reason for the upgrade. Okay, continuous monitoring reviews. The 2025 audit plan was the first year we completed this initiative. The project identifies areas of higher risk for continuous monitoring. During 2025, we took time to develop our audit procedures and meet with departments and further determine the frequency of these reviews. We were able to perform tests on pay rates, cash collection points, P cards, and employee reimbursement transactions during 2025. Results will be provided in a report to the audit committee to review by the end of the year. We'll present on these results at the first quarter meeting of next year and every year going forward. So as we go through the year, we'll continue to perform our test every quarter is the way we're looking at it right now. And then results will be compiled. I've included some results in monthly updates in the past. I'll continue to do that as we move forward, but we will have a formal report that we'll provide to the committee by the end of each year and present on it at the first quarter meeting. Do want to note that this project in the audit plan helps to increase our coverage on the entire audit universe. And we've also, in some of the meetings we've had with the department, especially on cash collection, we've received positive feedback from management. It's some of the work that we're doing here is almost like another internal control that people know that at any time we could come in and do a surprise cash count. At any time we could be looking at credit card transactions. We could be looking at employee reimbursements and questioning those. So I think that's also a positive of our department to continue to add value. Okay. On the last page of the audit plan, there are two sections here. One is previously deferred audits that we are considering for our co-sourcing budget for next year. And then there are deferred engagements as well. So I'll go over both of those. In the co-sourcing audits, we have allocated hours in the audit plan for co-sourced engagements, which will involve collaboration with external audit firms. The hours listed in the plan reflect the expected time commitment from internal audit staff, including time spent on education and knowledge building in specialized areas such as IT auditing. It's important to note that if internal audit were to conduct these audits independently, they would require significantly more time than that's currently allocated to these projects. To ensure efficiency and quality, we'll work close with the auditees to determine the most appropriate approach in partnership with an external firm. We plan to use the county's informal RFP process to identify and select the best qualified firm for each engagement. Over the past 6 months, I have spoken to several firms that I believe are well equipped to support these audits. Additionally, we will use this time to identify any existing external audits that may be relied upon or integrated into our co-sourcing efforts to avoid duplication and maximize value. Audits allocated to the co-sourcing budget include IT audits that are focused on general controls, security, and software development. And as you recall from about a year ago, this was recommended to be performed by the IT risk assessment vendor, Janus, based on their review. And vendor monitoring audit of Office of Reentry, which would be aimed at evaluating vendor oversight and contract management. Office of Reentry has been part of our deferred engagement for many years. This is just an area that we've just never performed an audit on, and so we're hoping to get some assistance that from an external firm to perform that audit rather than using internal resources where we could add value in other areas. Deferred engagements, after considering available resources, even with the additional co-sourcing resources, we do have 2 higher risk engagements that are being deferred, mainly based on limited audit resources. The corrections activities in the sheriff's office continue to be a higher risk area. An audit on review of the jail medical services contract has been deferred since 2024 due to ongoing external oversight, and the sheriff is currently considering a new contract on jail medical services. Due to limited resources on another high risk area, the Department of Children and Family Services audit related to duty-related travel is also being deferred. If we do find any hours this year to be able to perform additional audits, we'll throw that one back on as we have performed that audit in the past. That one came up not only as a higher risk in our risk assessment, but also in review of our employee reimbursements from continuous monitoring. We feel like there's areas there that we need to review. So with that, I don't know if there's any questions on the deferred engagements.
I think it makes sense to maybe help you knock out all 3 of those audits to use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that just catches my eye.
Mine
right?
too.
But I don't think you have enough external resources to bring them into that office instead of.
Yeah, we, on that one specifically, we've been, so during our risk assessment process, we have been in discussions on this. if you recall from last year when we talked about this, we did have this on our audit plan to review. And the main reason it was taken out is they were going through negotiating a new contract, which is supposed to be, I don't know the new date, I think it's early next year. It's supposed to be done with it, but our goal there was, bring in the new contract and then start auditing off that new contract, give them a year or so to get into the swing of things with the new contract, and then audit based on the new contract to make sure that the vendors in compliance and operations are, the controls are effective from the county management side. So that's the reason that's not in there, but that could change as we go through the next month or next year. So that's the main reason.
Did children and family services, did that, in this risk assessment, pop up in terms of risk rate?
No, that's always been a higher risk in our reports. We've just always had a follow-up review in there, so we've been able to include them in our coverage related to that. Next year, I don't think we even have any follow-up left. I know, Tom, you were working on that related to the Children and Family Services, but we also had during our continuous monitoring, we reviewed some of their reimbursements, and questions came up during that. We'll have it in our audit report, or our report by the end of this year, that led to us needing to review more of this process and on the duty-related travel.
Question, when you issue an RFP for your food how would the
Well, it'll be part of, I know there's an informal RFP process based on the dollar amount. I have never gone through that. I know Josh has. So I don't know if, Josh, if you have anything you want to mention about that process, but we'll gather a list of available vendors and send it off to them. I don't know if it's posted somewhere. I think the county posts on their website. Okay. Yeah, it'll be posted on the county's website too, but I have a huge list just based on the meetings I had, and then part of the ERM process, there's vendors there that could potentially do that work.
my question, do you?
It'll be on the website, but I can send off
You send out
if anyone's, yeah, if anyone's interested in it. Both, yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you.
because this is the kind of thing that costs, I
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions on the tentative audit plan?
An awesome project going through the risk assessment and using that in your other inputs to come up with the plan. I mean, it's, a couple of pieces of paper, but it's the time and attention and collaboration that went into creating the plan, including consultation with the committee. Appreciated. Are there any other questions about the plan? If not, is there a motion to approve the 2026 audit plan?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question before the motion. At the end of this document, Corey, you can tell me about those?
Yes. Yes, sorry. So new this year, just because the audit committee's requirement to audit or review every area of the county every 5 years. This is really just showing over the last 5 years, based on the coverage requirement, these are areas that we have not touched or reviewed, audited, follow-up procedures. So I just like to include that. As you can see, they're all lower risk scores. so they're not categorized as a high risk. That's why it's not in consideration for the actual audit plan. But I just like to show that because I know the audit committee passed that to as the 5-year coverage requirement, which, you know, we aim to meet that, but this is just, you know, being transparent. These are areas that we're not going to be able to hit that 5-year requirement.
Thank you.
Just something to think about, and I don't think it warrants a lot of discussion now, but if we are out of compliance with this requirement, I don't know in which of our governing documents the requirement exists, whether it's the county charter or one of our other levels of authority, but we may want to look at rewording from requirement to best efforts or something along that line, because we're resource constrained, it's impossible to complete the mission. We might want to acknowledge that, or at least have give some thought to, do we want the committee to approve, for example, the fact that we're not in compliance? I don't want to deal with it further at this meeting, but maybe something we should talk a little bit about.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to tentatively approve the 2026 audit plan.
Thank you. Is there a second? Wonderful. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Are none. So congratulations. The 2026 audit plan is approved. Thank you very much.
Time to get to work. I'm sorry, Chairman, the 2026 risk assessment report too, if
I'm sorry.
respectfully asking approval on that as
Yes,
well.
that too. Would somebody like to move approval?
So moved.
Second? Sure there's no more discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Again, thank you. All right, I will note that we are moving along very, very well. The timeline I referred to earlier would have us at this point of the meeting, I think about 10:30, so we're a good 25 minutes ahead, which is a really good thing, because the next items on our agenda are to discuss our released reports, which I think is, in my mind, a great deal of what this committee ought to be spending its time on, and in recent years was time constrained to do so. So thank you all for moving the meeting along so expeditiously. And then now let us move to the 3 reports that were issued recently, or about to be issued, I guess. Are they all issued?
Two of them have been officially
Right,
released.
and
One of
the
them is
other
not.
about to. So, Corey?
Okay, thank you. Beginning with the first quarter meeting of this year, we began to provide summary of key highlights from each audit report. Between quarterly meetings, these presentations will cover the audit scope, we'll talk about key findings and recommendations, and then go over any management action plans to address any identified issues. For today's meeting, we'll be presenting the results of 3 engagements, the council's ARPA community grant audit, the REDS revenue review, and the sheriff's overtime audit. With the first, I'll talk about council's ARPA community grant audit. I'd like to thank Council President Dale Miller, Joe Nani, Trevor Meckler, and council staff for their time and collaboration throughout this audit. This was actually our first audit within County Council. The primary objective of this audit was to ensure compliance with funds awarded to recipients through County Council's ARPA Community Grant Fund. While we did identify some discrepancies in award expenditures versus the grant agreement and found opportunities for improvement, overall audit results were acceptable, as council staff did monitor over 300 awards with no additional resources, and we identified nominal discrepancies. as of the audit, 307 grants were awarded totaling about $66 million. I believe, I don't know if all of it's been awarded to date, but I know there was only a few dollars left getting there. We did request support of award expenditures from 60 recipients, at least 2 of them being from each district, to determine if funds were spent on allowable purposes. We did note 2 projects where grant funds may not have been used in accordance with the terms of the agreement, totaling about $31,000. We also noted 2 separate projects were completed, but not all grant funds were expended by the recipient. That totaled $48,000. Council staff is currently working on addressing these findings. We did make recommendations to consistently request and review detailed support from award recipients, to follow up with award recipients annually, and evaluate current resources and procedures should a similar program be implemented in the future. We do appreciate the council president's and council staff's responsiveness and commitment to implementing applicable recommendations, and I want to also thank and recognize the team, Jeremy, Tiana, and Josh, for their work on this audit. So if there's no other questions or requests to hold the report, I would ask to have the report released later today following this meeting.
We need a motion to approve releasing the report.
You don't need to, but I guess since we're in the meeting, we probably should, because that's been past practice.
Okay.
So I would, yeah, recommend that.
There a motion to approve the ARPA Community Grant Audit report? Thank you. A second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that is approved.
Thank you. Okay, I will move on to the next audit.
Mr. Chairman, while Corey's doing that, I mean, I just want to say it was our council's first time being on the other side of the audit, so, which was just, it was a great experience. I thought Corey's team was very professional, collaborative, communicated the process very well. We had several meetings leading up to the release. Couple things, audit changed in their final audit report, so, after us, council giving them more information, so that was a good process.
Thank you, Trevor. And Trevor actually gave us some recommendations to improve our process too, so thanks for that. Okay, great. Okay, the next review for presentation today is the REDS revenue review. As you recall, this was part of the 2025 audit plan as a consulting advisory engagement. The Public Safety Justice Services team was unable to make it today. They did let me know, communicated that to me yesterday, but they did say they're willing to attend a future meeting if necessary, if there's any questions from the committee. And I also can relay those questions off to them as well. We performed a results-based consulting engagement at the request of the Public Safety and Justice Services Director, Brandy Carney, and in agreement with the REDS Board. The Department of Public Safety and Justice Services is responsible for collection of REDS revenue and administration of the REDS fund. This fund is used to support the county's law enforcement and public safety data sharing infrastructure. Revenue is received from 47 municipal and mayor's courts throughout the county, who are required to charge a rate of $5 per moving violation under the Ohio Revised Code. The primary objectives of this review were to identify anomalies and negative trends in REDS revenue from 2017 to 2024, verify payments received from each court, align with system-generated reports, and obtain documentation to ensure accurate application of the REDS fee for each court, which again is per moving violation. Results are included in the report that was released on December 5th. These results were also presented to the REDS Board in November. We distributed a questionnaire to all 47 courts and received responses from all courts other than East Cleveland during that time. We reviewed revenue trends per year and per court from 2017 through 2024. East Cleveland did cease payment after March of 2023. We did estimate that there was a potential revenue loss during that time of approximately $7,800, which would be from 2023 to 2024. But I do want to note, as of November of this year, East Cleveland did begin making payments to the county again on the REDS fee. We gathered supporting documentation from county courts to ensure accurate application of the REDS fee per moving violation. We attempted to identify and review traffic cases with multiple moving violations to confirm that multiple REDS fees were charged. In the reports that we received, it was difficult to determine whether cases involved multiple moving violations, but we were able to review a summary of charges for 40 courts through these reports. For 8 of those 40, we noted cases included only a single $5 REDS fee, suggesting that the fee is charged per case rather than per moving violation. Although we could not fully determine noncompliance in these cases, we do believe there's a heightened risk of noncompliance since REDS fees were not greater than $5 per case in any of the cases that in the reports that we reviewed, suggesting that only one moving violation for every case was done during that review period. As requested and discussed with the REDS board, I did forward our results and supporting documentation off to the state auditor's office and requested the auditor add a procedure to their testing of municipal and mayor courts in the county to ensure the $5 fees is accurately applied per moving violation. I did receive an email back that all the report and all the supporting documentation has been sent to Columbus. Since Cuyahoga County is very unique with this $5 fee, per moving violation, they don't have it in their testing to perform on every single mayor's court and municipal court in the state of Ohio. So they are considering that to include this in their testing going forward to make sure that they're reviewing court dockets, court cases to make sure it's charged per moving violation rather than per case.
So if someone gets not having your seatbelt on and speeding, that's $10 as opposed
Yes.
to $5.
Yeah, and there's seatbelt now. Sorry, I know there's specifics on what's a moving violation and
Okay.
what's not.
Like how do you get the multiple moving violations in one case? Like what would that look like?
Failure to yield and speeding,
Lane violation.
running a stop sign.
We did find out that the cameras are non-moving violations. So if you get caught by a camera, even though you're moving, state law does not require that to be a moving
Okay.
violation.
That could be hard then.
So, yeah, that's the a conclusion. Just to note that we did find, so the main reason the REDS board, or at least Director Carney, came to us is that they were concerned with declining revenue trends over the years. We did, including in our questionnaire, we did ask questions related to that. It did appear that the reduction in traffic cases over those years is the main reason for the declining revenue trends. But during our review, the not charging the REDS fee per moving violation seemed to be a potential risk there that maybe missing some revenue there. So that's hopefully, I don't know if I'll get any updates from the state auditor's office, but I guess we'll start seeing if they are testing this going forward.
And are they looking at, with the cameras, are they receiving the effects of the cameras? I mean, is this a result of having the cameras? Because the cameras are to slow folks down, right? I mean, that's the reason they put the cameras out. So
That's a good point.
could this be a result of people are not speeding anymore?
Yeah, that'd be a good question for public safety, and I can relay that off to them. But yeah, that we did. Okay. Any questions on that review? Any other questions? All right, I will move on to the third and final audit that was recently released. That being the sheriff's overtime audit. I did not receive communication from them if they were going to be here or not. I did tell everyone it would be about 10:30. So I'll go over the results of the audit. If they happen to come in, if there's any questions, feel free to ask. I do want to recognize, I'm assuming he's still sick. I do want to recognize Dale Armbruster from the Office of Innovation. He was a part of doing his own work through the sheriff's office overtime as well. He was very helpful during our audit. And I know he's, if he was able to be here, he would provide an update on some of his work too to the committee. So if that's something the committee's interested in, I'm sure he'd come back for the next meeting. But I know he was sick yesterday when I talked to him, so I do want to recognize him for his efforts related to sheriff's overtime audits or reviews. Okay, so on the sheriff's overtime audit, we performed an insurance audit on overtime. The primary objective of this audit was to analyze and assess the effectiveness and adequacy of policies, procedures, controls, and compliance requirements over overtime worked. Results are included in the report released on December 11th, last week. These were discussed with Sheriff's Office management during the engagement. We identified several key issues that may be contributed to rising overtime costs and weaknesses in internal controls at the Sheriff's Office. Our procedures evaluated controls in place on the management of overtime. We also performed a trend analysis on overtime hours, leave taken, staffing to determine what is driving overtime costs as well. All these results are included in our report. Our conclusions were based on data and information that we could rely on at the time. Infor, which is the county's payroll and financial system, does not provide consistent detailed data, at least during our audit, to provide the Sheriff's Office with accurate information to timely monitor and manage overtime. Sufficient documentation was not consistently maintained to support overtime worked before or during the time overtime was worked. I understand there has been some changes that have been made. There are some major changes I know that they're going through, especially with a scheduling system, looking into a scheduling system, which they currently don't have, that will take some time to implement. But I do want to note that they are at least attempting to make some changes in that area, but it could take a good year or so before everything is fully implemented. So what we did was our analysis shows increase in overtime is mostly annual pay rate increases, average annual turnover in corrections, and increased use of leave time. On rising overtime costs, pay rate increases alone accounted for 60% of annual overtime cost growth. Corrections accounted for the majority of overtime hours, and there were no significant increases to annual overtimes. Although we did find that 60% of overtime increases was due to pay rates, there's still that 40% there that, based on the results I'll go over, that we believe is more control weaknesses, lack of monitoring overtime, lack of a system or process in place to fully monitor and timely monitor that. Correction experienced a 16% average annual turnover rate, which was much higher than other divisions. There was increased use of leave, which include FMLA, admin leave, comp time, combined with reduced vacation usage as well, which contributed to increases in overtime as well. However, we did find that our testing of overtime work showed that there were control weaknesses in overtime approval and documentation. Overtime was often approved retroactively without proper documentation or prior approval or justification. In corrections, 72% of sampled overtime slips were missing, and 12% were approved using a rubber stamp, raising concerns about the integrity of the approval process. During our audit, which was over 15 months, we did estimate that about $3.8 million over the total population of overtime costs may not have been properly supported during the audit period. There was no consistent department-wide policies for overtime assignment, approval, or documentation. Practices varied widely across divisions as well, relying on informal or outdated procedures. Overtime data was mostly manually compiled with limited ability to analyze trends by unit or divisions. Really in a timely manner, we were looking for monitoring of payroll every 2 weeks, even every month, to try to identify if there was areas, units, functions within the sheriff's office that experienced significant or uncharacteristic overtime increases during that time. It appears overtime is mostly concerning more towards the end of the year as budget approaches. So what we made recommendations to do, especially with the scheduling management system, is bi-weekly, monthly, being able to timely review overtime per unit, per division, and also to establish policies and procedures on overtime practices. One thing we recommended was to include disciplinary actions taken if overtime hours are more than authorized. So we did identify that if there was an authorized overtime, if the person worked more than an authorized overtime, that they'd be paid for it, obviously, but there was nothing documented to say the reason why that happened. So there's no policy or disciplinary actions that can be taken. So that's another recommendation that we made related to the policies.
Are those disciplinary actions taken against the individual or the supervisor?
That's up for HR to decide, based on the policy. But I mean, I would think that would be management, the supervisor's responsibility to make sure that if they are working over, that they're aware, it's documented, there's a reason for it. We recommended to adopt a department-wide scheduling management system that integrates with the county's timekeeping platform if capable, to improve oversight, reduce manual errors, and enhance transparency. And we also recommended establishing a formal process and a consistent process for pre-approving, if capable, and documenting overtime across all divisions. And then finally, I do want to thank the sheriff, Chief Rivera, and Chief Reese for their cooperation during this time. We met with them multiple times over a 6-month period, and I know it's an uphill battle for them, but I have been getting updates from both of them over the last month on what's going on, especially with the scheduling management system and going through demos on what that might look like for them and what fits them most appropriate. So I do want to thank them, and I also want to recognize Tom, Dawn, Tiana, and Josh for their work on this audit. So I don't know if there's any questions related to it. I know it's a lot.
I just want to clarify, Human Resources is the agency that follows up on discipline, but it has to be reported to them. It has to be triggered by the Sheriff's Department first.
Yes, thank you.
Corey, I have one question related to the 60% related to rate increases. Was that some sort of market adjustment in the Sheriff's Department, or was that multiple years of the collective bargaining agreement?
I want to say that was both. I know you looked at that, Josh, but I believe there was a market adjustment during that time of our review for corrections office specifically, but I think also with the current CBA too, right? Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Katie, coming back to the comment you just made, would the audit report go to HR, and could they be actionable based on this information to reach in, or does it only happen when the department reaches out?
It happens when the department reaches out to them. So if they are, first of all, if there's no policies and procedures to identify where there's a violation going, then there's really no basis for it other than if it's something that's laid out in the employee handbook. Again, though, it would have to be the sergeant or a lieutenant or whoever's in charge of the time having to report that to HR as a disciplinary matter or a violation of their CBA or something like that, and HR would do the follow-up. But to my knowledge, none of that has happened.
Well, just to add to that, one of the things we talked to them, and I know Dale has too, is training the supervisors too, just constant training on policies or procedures that should be in place, escalating any matters. That's something that needs to be done as well.
Can you talk a little bit about how you see your department's follow-up with regard to the deficiencies noted?
Yes, so typically with our follow-up process, we'll try to follow up within a year. I think with these, we're going to try at least every quarter to keep following up. Just with communication with the two chiefs over there, I'm trying at least monthly to at least, see what's going on, if there's any progress. Also talking to Innovation too, and Dale. I know Dale's got a lot of recommendations and improvements over there as well. So I think and I know IT's been working with them. I know HR's been working with them. I think there's a lot of departments here and functions that are really supporting this effort. I think hopefully our follow-up will be, we'll see some improvements every quarter as we try to communicate with them.
Again, I just want to point out, yes, there are a lot of resources being thrown at the sheriff's department, but the onus is on the responsibility and accountability of the sheriff's department. There's nothing that Dale Armbruster from Innovation or IT can do or HR can do without the accountability from the sheriff's department. Going back to the one aspect of HR where I do think in this particular report that HR will be helpful is the FMLA. Sarah has worked on bringing on board a consultant, which will launch for 2026. And there is a large 12-hour restriction problem with FMLA. A lot of COs, I think Corey even identifies in his report, higher proportion than the normal are on FML, either intermittent or full FML, which causes a lot of overtime. This is an area where I think human resources can play a role in helping outcomes.
The lack of a tracking system, what they're remediating, just so if I were to look at this, you say, I mean, the reasons for the overtime make sense, right? People taking FMLA, turnover, things like that, but we weren't able to necessarily say, well, the overtime is occurring within some subunit that is experiencing the FMLA or turnover. Is that correct? That, in other words, you can't really confirm your root cause analysis as to these are the areas that are incurring the overtime, and that makes a lot of sense.
That's right. To answer your question, yes. The only thing we could get down to was by division, which is just 3 divisions.
Yeah, I don't know how many units or whatever.
Yeah, we couldn't get down to the floor or the pod, which I think they should.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of consistently tracking all that and timely monitoring it down to that level, which it can be done. It's going to take a lot to implement it, but it's on them to make sure that's done over time. And yeah, that's our. I mean, we'll talk about it in a little bit on our BVA, but we spent a lot of hours trying to determine, in every area of the sheriff's department, corrections, law enforcement, protective services, what practices they had in place, what was good, what was bad. There were times where we would not know about something and then find out about it and then have to go look at that process. So that there was like a lot of extra work that we were performing just to see, is there something that's consistent across the whole sheriff's office that can be applied and that's working, and without proper documentation or even documentation at all, it was hard to determine to that level where the issue was.
Corey, you may not know the answer to this question. That's fine. You can get back. But I just wondered, the overtime in the CBA, is it paid based on FLSA over 40 hours in a pay period? Or are there exceptions where if somebody gets called in, they automatically get overtime?
I think it depends on the CBA. I know the 40-hour rule is in some of them. Tom, if you want to answer any of that, or if you're comfortable. If not, we can follow up.
Yeah, I apologize. I have nothing to add to that. I'm not sure specifically It would depend on the CBA.
There are some exceptions built into the CBA, specifically the corrections officer CBA, there's built-in overtime. And it lays out what is included for that number account. So there are exceptions to it laid out in the CBA.
And to follow up then, if there is, was that changed in the CBA or has that been consistent over time? I just wanted to make sure that that's not part of what's causing this.
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I only know what the current CBA looks like just because we're in the process.
Last
Yeah.
2 or 3 CBAs at least.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, I suspect we're gonna be hearing follow-up reports from time to time.
And just a reminder too, the committee, if you'd like, you can ask, since the sheriff's administration's not here today, you can ask if you want them to come back for next meeting, give some updates. I mean, I know they're giving updates to council, the executive's office. Related to this report, I think it might be worth them coming in to talk about it, especially in, I mean, I guess our meeting's only in a month, but maybe that second quarter meeting.
I'm certainly not opposed to that. You wanted to talk about that as you and I work on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, is there generally an appetite to have that in-person conversation?
I think we already know what the statement's gonna be. I think we're just trying to find tools to help them a little bit, point out some of the high end, we've had some people earn $315,000, almost 200 and something thousand in overtime. You know, those are flags that I'm trying to get them some tools to maybe identify those. It's not gonna solve the problem, but at least, we can start looking into it.
All right, well, Corey, why don't we discuss that as we,
Yeah, sorry, I just
The
mentioned
agenda.
that if there's questions that, we just can't answer if they want to bring them in, but that makes sense. Okay.
all right, want to move on and talk about current engagements, status, and where we stand vis-à-vis the 2025 audit plan that has 13 days to get completed.
Yeah, I'm going to, I don't think there's anything, Josh, right? I'm going to turn this over to Josh to walk through the 2025 BVA, which is included in your attachments as A-8.G. So Josh, take it away.
All right, so we've got engagements on the top. Those are engagements that have been completed. We've also discussed those in prior meetings, so I will skip over those unless somebody else has a question on those. Feel free to interrupt me as I go along. So that brings us down to basically starting off with the sheriff's office is the first one on the list. We just talked about the details of the report, but it was released on December 11th. We had originally budgeted $600 for that engagement. After planning, we revised that estimate to $730. Now, if you look at the actual, we're estimating that we'll be closer to $1,130. That is a significant difference, an extra 400 hours. That was the result of a few unanticipated difficulties and additional work that we needed to do. Some examples were it took longer to obtain the support documentation, the OT slips that we commonly refer to in the report. Those were actually just in stored boxes, so we had to physically go through about a dozen boxes and pull out individual slips for the pay periods. Some of the data analysis, we talked a little bit about how time is recorded. The first 40 for FLSA purposes is recorded in the system. So based on how the timing of when employees work overtime, an overtime shift might actually be recorded as regular rate in the system, and as well as regular shifts at the end of a week might be recorded at the overtime rate in the system. So that created some difficulties in trying to figure out the analysis. We also did some additional consultation and testing. For example, the sheriff's office, we've recommended a staffing management software. They were in the process of looking at some, so we sat in on some of their presentations of of the staffing management software they were exploring, and they wanted our input afterwards. Next project, information technology security. That one's still underway. We are currently in the fieldwork phase and looking at assessing NIST 2.0 versus the IIA's topical requirements. We don't anticipate any additional release delays. However, it is going to be expected to be a carryover into 2026. Probably March or April is when it'll be released and sent to you. The ARP engagement, that's another one that we discussed earlier. It's actually, I think, anticipated to be publicly released this afternoon. We'd originally budgeted 400 hours for this. However, it's looking like it's going to be about 520. I believe we underestimated the time that it was required to basically look at these 60 different sub-awards and try and assess the various objectives in performance. So, some might say, we're looking to create jobs. The other is to help the community, and it was such a wide variety within all of them. It took longer than anticipated. The issue tracker testing is ongoing. We are a little bit over budget. However, we have implemented several process changes this year, and we're still getting used to those and even tweaking them as we need to go along. In the future, I think it's going to be a lot more efficient, and I think we'll see time go down. The risk assessment, that's just got approved today. It's actually fairly well under budget. I think it went smooth given the significant changes that were made to the audit universe. Continuous monitoring. So we've done a fair amount. Corey talked about it earlier. We are under budget there. That's we had to reduce hours basically because of the sheriff overage and ARPA as well. But we have looked at payroll-related cash collections, employee reimbursements, as well as P-card transactions. The REDS review, we were slightly over budget on the REDS review that we discussed earlier. We basically had to go over the details from 47 courts. The reports that they sent were kind of a wide variety of format and legibility. So turning those into data that we could actually analyze took longer than expected. Oh, did I skip? I think you skipped. Oh, you're right. Apologies. I skipped over the opioid in that process. The opioid was delayed because we had the REDS engagement still going on, and it's basically the same auditee. So we didn't want to hit them with 2 engagements simultaneously. So we kind of pushed it back a little bit. The initial planning has started. We expect the entrance conference to be next week. As a result, we're going to expect that engagement to carry over into 2026 as well. It'll probably be released somewhere around mid-April. There we go. Project Excellence. It's been a lot of I think positive work this year. We did have to reduce and maybe didn't achieve some of the hopes that we wanted to with making changes to the issue tracker and automating some of that process that Corey had talked about earlier. Management requests, we've done several reviews like policies and procedures. The time requirements for that has not been much, so we were able to use those extra hours towards issue tracker as well as kind of offset some of the overage from sheriff and ARPA. That's about it.
Can you refresh my memory, maybe others? There's a line item, third from the bottom, ethics review, and it's struck through, and there's teeny tiny asterisk explanation. Struggling to read. Could you just explain what
Yes, that
that
was,
struck through?
so the ethics review has been, I know that was a part of prior audit plans, and it was on our tentative audit plan a year ago. And after review with the peer reviewers, discussion with the prior peer reviewers for us, it appeared that we were in compliance with our ethics review. So we did include it on the plan, but just as a if needed basis. So if something came up during our audits where we felt like an ethics review needed to be done, we'd throw it back on there and do it if we had time. But no, so that's there just as just in case. And we don't have it on this year's audit plan either. So that was just because of prior year audit plans, just noting that we were taking it off for this year.
Thank you. So, I mean, I think we've done an incredible job of working through the plan. Understand the explanations on the those audits that where the actual time exceeded the budget. It's frustrating to me as somebody who for years had to manage audits, clients that may or may not have been properly prepared and then fight the battle. Who pays for the extra time that we have to spend? We don't have that capability, obviously, to bill auditees for time that is either required to be spent or in some cases requested to be spent that are out of the side of the original scope. But at least I would encourage us to start to think about, are there ways to make the auditees more, what incentives could there be for helping us manage our time? And, not sure what those are off the top of my head, given the nature of county government, but nonetheless, I think maybe just some thought on the subject might come up with some ideas. Okay, well, there's nothing for us to approve in terms of the 2025 budget, but so thank you for the report. So that takes us to item 9 on the agenda, public comment unrelated to the agenda. Not seeing anyone here that would be making those comments, so we'll move forward to item 10, which is our next meeting. It's February 5th, scheduled for 9 to 12. Hopefully we'll also get done more expeditiously at that meeting. These meetings did get crunched a little close together, but Corey and I have talked about whether we ought to look at pushing that February meeting back. He believes, and I concur, that the timing is okay given what's on the department's plate. And so we'll be seeing each other again relatively soon. Again, I encourage you, look at the schedule, and if you can anticipate that we're going to have a problem with anybody attending a meeting, that gets to issues of quorum, and so at least we'd like to know to try to be able to deal with it. Almost hesitate to ask, but given that we've got a bit of time left, is there anything else that has not been on the agenda that anybody feels that they would like to discuss? And if not, then I'll take the prerogative of the chair to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and I hope everyone enjoys whatever time off they're entitled to and stay safe wherever they are journeying. might we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
And a second? I am sure there's unanimous consent, aye. So,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you all. My,